How you doing, folks? Andy Prady here with the 11 Alive Investigators. Let me tell you about a story that is starting to develop that we are working on right now. You may have heard about claims of voter suppression in Georgia and the Secretary of State's office getting sued for putting voter registrations on hold. Well, let me tell you about details about voter intimidation you may not have heard yet. I bet you haven't heard yet. It involves a grandmother in Georgia who almost went to prison for assisting a voter.
I know you before you started.
We go back a long way. We were next door neighbors.
She's not on this year's ballot, but it's easy to see why Olivia COLEY PEARSON has served 19 years on Douglas City Council, unopposed.
So we all go way back.
She knows her constituents.
Thank you, sweetie.
While popular in her district, COLEY PEARSON's toughest political battle happened last year. Not on city council.
You committed false swearing, did you?
No, sir.
But in a Coffee County courtroom facing felony charges.
I will not agree.
It started with a complaint filed with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. The claim, illegally assisting voters in 2012. Listen to an audio recording between a state investigator and a voter COLEY PEARSON helped.
Do you know why Miss Pearson signed the back of the vote certificate that she was assisting you?
Because I didn't know what to do, what I ought to do.
Was that the first time using the machine?
Yeah, that was my first time.
At the end there where you have to push the button to cast your ballot, who pushed that?
Me.
And that's what happened. That's what I was criminally charged for in terms of assisting a voter.
Were you on the ballot?
No.
Here we go again.
Reverend Rudolph Porter is a local pastor.
If she could have gone to prison for that, I guarantee you could serve all the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the Coca-Colas in the world. People wouldn't have gone to the polls ever again in this county.
All rise. Thank you. You may be seated.
At her first trial, the jury was 11-1 in favor of convicting Pearson. One juror held out.
What's the date? I got it right here.
April 17th?
17th? Yeah, it's 17th. That's correct. Greetings. I'm George Boston Rise with the Get To Free Press. And as you know, I'm covering 18 cities and counties where voter suppression, intimidation, impeding the black vote, and removing black elected officials from office. I was called to Douglas some time ago when we elevated our investigation from Madison, Florida through approximately 17 other cities. I was called to Douglas. And these group of black Americans and 2 whites were indicted on voter fraud. When I arrived in Douglas, I met a commissioner by the name of OLIVIA COLEY PEARSON. And I've traveled with her, I have posted videos. But now, she, like many others, had to go and face a judge and a jury. And after the verdict came in that case, it was determined to be a mistrial. They only brought her up on 2 charges. 2. I want this juror to tell you what they were deliberating on. But first, I want you to listen to her as she gives an introduction to help you along the way on what I call a pattern and practice of stopping the black vote and keeping blacks from holding office here in the state of Georgia and Florida that I can vouch for. What's your name?
Lanisha Armour.
Lanisha Armour, how you spell your first name?
Lanisha, Lenecia.
Last name?
Armour, Armour.
Where are you from?
Douglas, Georgia.
What are your educational level?
Finished high school, and that's pretty much it.
High school diploma, okay. And I guess you received a notification or someone through the mail to do what as far as the jury selection, or you was in the pool of jurors, potential jurors, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you was selected?
Yes, sir.
How many was on your jury?
There was 14 and 2 alternates.
And 2 alternates, okay. How many blacks?
There were 3 blacks total, and only 2 served on the juror's case as deliberator.
So one of them was an alternate?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1 alternate black and 1 alternate white.
Okay. Was there any Asians or other ethnic individuals on that particular jury?
Yes, sir. There was 1 Hispanic.
1 Hispanic, okay. Have you ever served on a jury before?
No, sir. That was my very first time.
Before we get into some of the questions, can you tell me a little bit about what you thought a jury would be in comparison to what it actually was after you was selected to be on it?
I more of thought a juror being, I know when you get back there, it's going to be, some where we're going to agree and some we're going to disagree. But when I got back there, it was just pointing of the fingers on your opinion. Like, it made people mad if you didn't side with them and if you stood up for what you felt like was right. And I had no idea it would be like that. It was on the first day after I left in tears because, it was just that bad.
When you say it was just that bad, you mean along the lines of dealing with the race?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It started when I first got there.
Well, excuse me. Just go and tell your story. Just go any way you wanted to. Tell us what actually happened when you was in that jury box.
Okay. Well, to start, when I first got there, I didn't do any research on the case. I went in with a clear mind and heart. So when I got there, of course, when I walked in the room, no one said good morning. That's fine. I'm a big believer in when you enter, you speak. So I sat down and I told everyone good morning. So after me, followed me was a white lady. When she come in, they spoke good morning. Following her was one of the black jurors, the alternate. No one said good morning. And following him was a white guy, where everyone said good morning. So, I took that in consideration, but I still tried to keep an open mind towards everything. So once we got back there, after hearing the trial, within 2 or 3 minutes of being back there, everyone had come up with a verdict. So when we knocked on the door for the bailiff clearly told us that we hadn't been in there long enough to deliberate to come up with a verdict. So when we first got back there and did the vote of guilty or not guilty, we did a hand vote. And I feel like by doing a hand vote, it caused a whole lot of confusion. Of course, at first I was 11-1 on both charges. I was the only one standing not guilty. And being that, they automatically started pointing the finger. So we went around the room deliberating, person by person. And when it got to me of saying not guilty, they wanted reasons of why. But we went around the room, and some people never stated why they felt guilty or not guilty. The Hispanic guy, to me, was clearly lost about everything that was going on. He didn't understand the concept of everything. On one vote, we wrote it on paper, and he didn't even understand what route we was going with that. So he never deliberated, never nothing. He automatically said guilty, and I felt like he was just following along with everyone else instead of speaking up for what he felt was right. With the deliberating, with the pointing of the finger, I felt like if we would have did it unanimously or or whatever, writing it down, I felt like that would have been a better decision to do. They told me that by me deliberating, they would have knew that it was me saying not guilty, but like I told her, you would have assumed, but you would have knew for sure. It would have never been facts. Me, basically, I just did what God placed on my heart and what I felt like was right. On the 2 counts, at first, when we first got there, everyone was saying it was 11-1 saying guilty except for me. But after I gave my reasons on the first count, which was improper assistance, you know, I persuaded 2 people to change their mind because clearly on the first charge, on the improper assistant, the witness stated that Ms. Pearson didn't touch her screen. She only showed her how to insert the card and read out directions on what was going on. So that right there was reasonable doubt of, you know, I felt like she was innocent on it. The witness even stated that she didn't touch her screen or didn't, you know, have anything to do with casting her vote. So on the second charge, I was the only one that still stood up for innocent, and I felt like because when Ms. Pearson took stand, she clearly stated that the signature obviously stated her name, but it was so much tampering with the paperwork and the signatures that it really didn't look like her writing. So that, again, was reasonable doubt on finding her innocent. Back there with the deliberating back to that, it was even to, of course, when we get back there, people are going to, you know, get into it a little bit on why they feel guilty or not guilty. And being that I said not guilty, me and 2 of the ladies, we exchanged a couple words. So the very next morning of getting in the juror's room, starting back with deliberating, the foreman tried to slide off a note to the judge, basically trying to get me put out on one of the alternates put in because I wouldn't comply with what they said. He wrote a note to the judge without, you know, clarifying or verifying anything with the rest of the jurors. Basically, the note said that I was confrontational and that I wasn't abiding by the law, which I feel like because I wouldn't side with them. He also made remarks about if 11 jurors are saying guilty, then 9 times out of 10, the 11 jurors are right. But from my understanding, I've seen many cases where people are wrongfully convicted and served 20, 30 years of time they can't get back because 12 jurors said guilty. It was a mess.
When the judge gave you some type of gave you all some kind of instruction to go back in.
Yes, sir.
How did you feel about that? Because when we was out in the audience, we had our interpretation of it. But how did you receive that as a juror when he told y'all to go back and do more deliberation?
I really felt like we were at a standstill. They were sticking what they felt like and believed in, and I was sticking what I felt and believed in. So when we got back there, it was really, you know, a moment of silence for a while until we started back deliberating, but it was more pressure coming to me because I felt not guilty. So they wanted more reason out of me. I gave them every reason, which I felt like was right, but I guess it wasn't enough because I wasn't saying guilty.
Do you think that some of the people that was on the jury possibly felt that they were being attacked, or there was confusion, or they feared, you know, maybe their peers or the foreman or something like that? Or you wouldn't know?
Not really. If anyone felt like someone was coming for them, I felt like me. Especially what really made me feel like they were coming for me when the note was trying to be passed off. I felt like why only me had to be confrontational when it takes 2 to argue. So if it's 2 of us going back and forth, obviously I'm not the only one confrontational. And you know, one of the guys also made a remark. One of the older guys sitting next to me said that, well, if she don't want to comply, then we can get her switched out with one of the alternates to come in. And I told him the judge clearly said that if you weren't ill or if it wasn't a family emergency, which neither applied to me, then I wasn't going anywhere, that I was there to stay. That, you know, he would basically just have to get used to me sitting there.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that I really appreciate you stepping forward and shedding light on what many people would never know that goes on in the jury room. You are a young person, and I commend you for stepping forward, because too many black, white, Asians, and Americans in general have suffered, bled, and died for this country on foreign battlefields. And we do have a right to sit in front of a jury of our peers without being coerced or removed or intimidated or attacked behind closed doors of what they call the jury deliberation area. So I want you, if you can, to just tell me, why did you feel it necessary to call me to get this story out?
It needs to be heard. Behind those doors, I feel like a lot of masks come off. A lot of people already have their minds made up before you even get back to the room. to deliberate. I mean, basically that's what happened. Everyone had in their minds and hearts what they were going to stick with by the time we got back there and before the deliberation. It's just, I feel like stand up for what you believe in. Whatever God placed on your heart, you follow your heart. No one wants to wrongfully convict someone who hasn't really done anything. I feel like it was just a situation made into a bigger situation.
Tell me a little bit about, you've talked about it, but sum it up in short review, the attitude and the professionalism or unprofessionalism of the jury foreman, because I believe he possibly was the most educated.
Yes, sir, he was. I mean, from the time we got in there, he was the main one talking, laughing, joking. Really, I felt like how he was chose it wasn't fair. You know, most people were leaning towards him. We never did a hand vote on the foreman who we chose. Most of them just decided, and that's what they went with. It wasn't a fair vote on who was going to pick for foreman. He did most of the talking for a lot of them with deliberating, with coming up like why he felt guilty, or he was also one of the main ones, had a lot of stories confused or not really knowing what was what. I mean, me on the other hand, I took a lot of notes and I had to correct them on a lot of stuff that he was saying that they were wrong on.
How does it feel to be young and to go up against a professional person, possibly with a college degree, and you just said that you just finished high school? How does it feel to go up against that level of knowledge? Or supposedly be level of knowledge?
Yeah, I didn't feel any type of way, really.
No intimidation. No intimidation.
No, not at all. Because when you stand on what you believe in, and human can't make you go left or right or choose, and you have a mind of your own, you'll always be able to stand up for yourself as long as you keep that attitude.
Okay, let's close this out, and I want you to close it out by stating once again, as I come to join you, I want you to state how long did it take you all, after all those hours, to reach a decision? How long did it take that jury?
Within the first 2 or 3 minutes with being in there, everyone had come up with a verdict.
And that verdict was what?
The very first time it was 11-1 on the first charge, 11-1 on the second charge, and by the end of trial, on the first charge it was 9-3, and on the second charge it was still 11-1.
And so it ended up being a mistrial based upon what?
That second count, 11-1. That one person standing up.
And who was that?
That was me.
Do you feel that you did the right thing?
I know I did.
Or you don't even think about it, you know it?
I know.
What's your name again?
Lanisha Armour.
Lanisha Armour, I want to tell you I appreciate you. May God bless you, my beautiful sister. And I hope that you can go to school and get your college degree, because a person like you, in my humble opinion, it would only complement what God has blessed you to have. And that's courage and the willpower to stand up for what is right under our form of government here in the United States of America. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And once again, this is the Get To Free Press. I want you all to Google Boston G.B.R. because if you think this is an isolated case, you got a long run to run. This is only a touch or peak of the pyramid of what whites, apparently along with some black people, are doing throughout the state of Georgia, the state of Florida. And I have been to New Orleans, and we see the same pattern and the same practice. Once again, to Get To Free Press, we report what others ignore. Peace out, and God bless. Thank you so much, my beautiful sister.
From his very first year as Georgia's voting chief, Brian Kemp literally ordered armed seizures. He sent the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Georgia's own version of the FBI, to Quitman, Georgia, to arrest 10 newly elected members of the school board. The first black members on the board, arresting teachers, including 2 PhDs. Kemp accused them of stuffing tampered ballots into mailboxes. That same old accusation as in 2000 Mules. Kemp had them paraded in handcuffs and orange suits like they were terrorists at Guantanamo. Local journalist George Boston Rhines has closely tracked the case.
I'm George Buster Rhymes, and I'm in Quitman, Georgia. And I am immediately, just got down here. These are the Quitman 10. This is what I do.
After 4 years of prison over their heads, the Quitman 10 were acquitted of every charge.
So much stress was on those people. Lula Smart even considered taking her own life.
With all the indictment that I had, in my mind, I thought, well, if I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Another suffered from lupus.
Latasha Head, she died, and I interviewed her father, and he said that he believed that his daughter's death was a result of the stress and pressure brought about by Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp.
Rines explained that the persecution of the Quitman 10 brought up traumatic memories of the lynching of 12 black men in 1918, what is called the Week of Terror. When Mary Turner raised her voice about the execution of her husband by vigilantes, they came after her.
Oh, wow.
Where are we? Can you tell me what we're about to do?
This is the old Brooks County Jail. This is where all of the equipment, and this is where all of the men that were arrested during that Week of Terror in May of 18 would have been housed in this jail before they was lynched. This is my first time ever coming into this place. I've heard some horror stories about this place. In May of 1918, Mary Turner was lynched. They took her, she was 9 months pregnant, turned her upside down, riddled her body with bullets. A white mob member took a hog knife, ripped over her abdomen, and out fell an 8-month-old fetus. And when that fetus fell to the ground, the white mob member took the heel of his boot and crushed that baby's head.
Yo, if I had 100 sheep and one of them got away, I would leave the 99 and go find that one. That's right. Look from the locks and jaws of Satan, I come creating, penetrating with force from the land of the lost and coming. Like Muhammad got the devil on the run, rising like the sun, keep your eyes on the one, look on base. Live to bring forth a reborn nation, up against the norm, creating a new formation. This foundation that I be standing on is firm. Look, y'all, we must learn, oh, as a people we gon' burn in the fire. Let's join hands with the Messiah, the Lamb be Elijah. For real, I ain't no liar, my deepest desire be to resurrect the carcass. Breathe like venom, then squeeze out all the venom with momentum and skill. We'll kill Satan at will. You and I be connected, protected by Ezekiel's will for real. I can sense a mental explosion on the move as God's chosen. Proceeding in motion, we become, yes, indeed, the parts of forming. Running about her, cause Babylon is falling, living all in the midst of devilish anguish. His aim is to kill us all with this language. He's the mischief maker, plus he's wicked by nature, the modern mind shaper. So hey, will Jacob wake up the lion? He's in Judah, sleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. Look out, I see a lion. Where he's in Judah, sleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace. The violence of this beast must cease. Now look, for 4 days, he's been sleeping in the tomb. Fed like the zoom, no light, it's like the moon. His blood be maroon, plus it covers the earth. Crucified daily, and waiting this new birth. For real, the truth hurts the wicked evildoer. He knows that the future will bring a new ruler. So look, don't let him fool you with his maneuvers and wisdom. Seeking, you'll find that he uses is symbolism with this rhythm. Black will represent the hesitant brains. Hit the water down the flames and sort out the remains. Everything must change, nothing stays the same. Our struggle's been ordained, so just chill, maintain. I know it's strange, but look, one came to raise us up. Farad has arrived, beware, don't self-destruct, keep the focus. The red dragon's coming with the locusts. Some don't notice, so they engage in shit that's bogus. But look like Moses, I'ma free you from your bondage, from those who oppress us, wicked, evil, demonics. I promise that I'ma flaunt this everywhere I go. My people gotta know, so I can't hold it in no more. For real, the pressure's on and that be the fact. We gotta resurrect quick if we expect to be hereafter. Look, I can see disaster, it's all in our midst. It's the shock of the hour, man, the clock be stuck on 6. I wonder, who can fix this problem from Zion? I'm in the wilderness trying to wake a dead lion. There's a lion where he's in Judah asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace. The balance of this beast must cease. Look out, I see a lion where he's in Judah asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace. The balance of this beast must cease. Now peep these bones as they lie, still dry in the valley. Buried under rubbish, darkness covers the body. There's no consciousness, there's no breathing, no pulse. Walking dead in Israel, be that sheep that's lost. Guided by the false image, they don't know what sin is. In their forehead be a mark that reads crooked menace. It's continuous bleeding, therefore repentance is needed. Wickedness can be defeated when we submit, it's deleted. This beast be heated, he knows the fire's kindling. The curtains in that land of Midian be trembling. I see a symbol, large number, many men coming from out the grave to never go back in again. Lazarus, come forth, remove that napkin, take it off. The force be with you, so lion, let him hear your voice. I can hear the roars coming from daily.